Today, Olivia Loktanova left work an hour early because her best friend and colleague Emma had fallen ill, and naturally, she needed to check on her. The woman bought some fresh fruits and headed to the other end of the city, where her friend lived in a one-bedroom apartment. Olivia decided not to warn her friend about the visit. Let it be a surprise. That's why she was so amused by the surprised look on Emma's face when she opened the door. "Didn't expect me?" Olivia laughed. "Well, here I am to check on you. I brought you lemons, oranges, bananas, and apples. How are you feeling? Do you have a fever? You look like you're struggling, poor thing." Emma looked at Olivia with some strange confusion. It was clear she was choosing her words carefully before finally saying, "Oh, Olivia, I feel really bad. Sorry, I wasn't expecting you at all. I didn't think you'd come." "But here I am," Olivia interrupted her, "because true friends are known in times of trouble. But let me in. Why are you keeping me at the door?" After these words, Emma seemed to shrink and lowered her eyes. She stood indecisively for a few seconds, then sighed and let her friend into the hallway of her small apartment. Once inside, Olivia first set the heavy bags of treats on the floor, then looked around the tiny space. Faded wallpaper of some indeterminate color, an old wooden floor, a cracked mirror, all of this unfortunately confirmed that the owner lived modestly. At the same time, the woman noticed that the broken shoe cabinet was completely stuffed with expensive shoes, sandals, and sneakers. Olivia could barely hold back a smile. This was so typical of Emma. Her friend lived in a rented studio on the outskirts of the city and could eat the cheapest pasta with mayonnaise for weeks, but she was always dressed impeccably. After all, she spent her entire salary on clothes, shoes, and cosmetics. Once, Emma even confessed to Olivia that she'd rather go hungry for a few days than go out in torn stockings. It was for this straightforwardness that Olivia loved her. "Sorry," Emma suddenly interrupted her friend's thoughts. "Don't be offended, please, but it would be better if you left now. I really feel very bad, so I'd rather sleep. And I don't want to infect you, especially since you have a husband and kids at home." Yes, I understand everything. Just call me tomorrow, okay? I'm worried about you." After these words, the women said goodbye, and Olivia, sending her friend air kisses as a farewell, left the apartment. While waiting for the elevator, she caught herself with a strange thought that something seemed off, but she couldn't figure out what exactly. The anxious feeling didn't leave the woman as she descended, and when she left the building and headed toward the subway, the unpleasant sensation only intensified. But Olivia still couldn't understand what was bothering her. It only dawned on her when she started descending into the underground. It was all about the shoes she had seen in the hallway of Emma's apartment 15 minutes ago. Among the women's sneakers, bright high-heeled shoes, and summer wedge sandals, there was one pair of shoes that clearly belonged to a man. Olivia suddenly stopped, her eyes darkened, and, for some reason, it became hard to breathe. Elegant light brown leather shoes, exactly the ones Olivia had given to her beloved husband James for his birthday. Knowing his passion for everything exclusive, she hadn't bought them in a store, but ordered them from a special shoemaking workshop. The woman was absolutely sure that no one else in their city had such shoes.
Not remembering herself from excitement, Olivia turned around and ran back at full speed. She quickly crossed the street, ran into the building, flew up the stairs to the 7th floor without waiting for the elevator, and, finding herself at her friend's door, pounded on it with her fists. A few minutes later, a frightened Emma opened it. Without letting her say a word, Olivia pushed her aside and entered the apartment. In a couple of steps, the woman crossed the hallway and, finding herself at the threshold of the small room, froze as if rooted to the spot. Before her, on the couch, sat her husband James, with a glass of red wine in his hand. He was wearing only a long blue velvet robe. Staring at his wife, he couldn't even find the words right away. "You've got it all wrong," James finally muttered, lowering his eyes. "How could you?" Olivia gasped, addressing him. "I never could have imagined that you would do this with my best friend. I trusted you completely, and you did this to me. What am I supposed to do now? What do I tell our children?" Unable to hold back her emotions any longer, the woman burst into tears. At that moment, she heard Emma's voice behind her. "We've wanted to tell you for a long time." It sounded unexpectedly dry and timber. "If it were up to me, I wouldn't have hidden anything, but James insisted on waiting. Because of the kids, and he felt sorry for you. But now you know everything, and that's good." Hearing this, Olivia turned around and, without looking back, ran out of the cursed apartment. Neither James nor especially Emma followed her. The whole time Olivia was getting home after the scene in her friend's apartment, She replayed their life together with James over and over in her head. The woman couldn't believe that today their happiness had shattered forever. Olivia and James had been married for almost 10 years. They met back in university. He was in his third year of the physics and mathematics faculty, and she had just started in economics. Almost all the female students at the university sighed over James. After all, it was hard not to fall for the tall, gray-eyed blonde with a beautiful smile and cute dimples on his cheeks. That's why everyone was so surprised that having the opportunity to choose practically any girl, he started dating Olivia. Back then, she looked like a typical plain Jane. Hair always pulled into a tight ponytail, glasses, a blouse with a collar, and a skirt below the knees. But the girl was incredibly kind, well-reader, and knowledgeable in many areas, from cooking to football. That's what won James over. Olivia became first and foremost a good friend and an interesting conversationalist for him. He wanted to spend all his free time with her.
The couple got married right after Olivia graduated from university. That's when she changed her last name from Novikova to Laktianova after her husband. By that time, James had already started his small business. Namely, he opened an auto repair shop. Olivia was persistently invited to work as an auditor in a large company, but by then, the woman was already expecting a child. A few months later, Noah, Olivia and James's firstborn, was born, and a year and a half later, the couple became parents to a charming girl named Sophia. James continued with his business. Olivia stayed on maternity leave with the babies. Only when the children started kindergarten did she finally go to work at a small cosmetics production firm, where she managed to get a position as an accountant. Her salary was small, and the main breadwinner in the family remained her husband. But it was at the firm that Olivia met her colleague Emma, who later became her best friend. The women became friends instantly. They spent a lot of time together, shared problems and advice, and told each other their deepest secrets. In communicating with Emma, Olivia always felt a certain lightness that she might sometimes lack in conversations with her husband. Emma, in turn, knew she could always rely on her friend, which she regularly did. Many times, Olivia lent Emma money and always refused to take it back. Olivia introduced Emma to James almost immediately. Emma became a frequent guest in their home, invited to all the Laktianova family holidays, and even went on vacations with them. Noah and Sophia adored Aunt Emma. They loved her cheerful nature and the fact that she always agreed to play with them. James treated Emma with sympathy, but without fanaticism. More than once he told his wife, "The main thing is that you're happy and I'm ready to accept all your friends." How did it happen that in one moment she lost both her husband and her best friend? No matter how much Olivia searched for an answer to this question now, it was fruitless. In all the years she had known Emma, the woman had never once felt that something was wrong. So it turned out that she herself was somehow to blame for what happened. She shouldn't have trusted people so unconditionally. After Olivia learned about the betrayal by James and Emma, she naturally filed for divorce. She also had to change jobs because she simply wouldn't have had the strength to see her former friend every day. For a while, Olivia continued to live with the children in the 3-bedroom apartment she had inherited from her late grandmother. But one day, someone called her from an unfamiliar number. The woman was a bit surprised, but picked up.
"It's me," Emma's voice came from the phone. "So friend, by the end of the month, be kind enough to move out of James's apartment. It's no longer your property. We need somewhere to live too. We're not going to squeeze into my studio." "What about the children?" Olivia said quietly. "The children?" Emma was surprised. "Sorry, but I couldn't care less what happens to your children. I'm sure James feels the same, especially since we'll soon have our own child." With those words, Emma hung up. Olivia sat in a stupor for a long time. What hurt her most was not that her ex-husband and former best friend were about to have a child, and not even that James was now kicking her and the kids out of the apartment. Olivia was struck by the fact that he didn't even want to tell her about it personally. It turned out that she was now nothing to him. The very next day, Olivia, Noah, and Sophia left James's 3-bedroom apartment forever. They took only a few suitcases with the essentials. Olivia's Aunt Evelyn took them in. The woman was single, so she happily accepted her niece and the kids. And so they began to live. Olivia went to work every day, Noah and Sophia went to school, and Evelyn waited for them at home with a delicious hot dinner. Financially, of course, it was tough. They had to live on Olivia's small salary and her aunt's pension, but they managed somehow. Olivia made a difficult decision for herself not to demand alimony from her ex-husband, and he, of course, didn't offer any. The first year after the divorce, despite the pain and resentment, Olivia still followed Emma and James's life through their social media pages. From them, the woman learned that they had officially legalized their relationship and that they had a daughter named Isabella. Olivia bitterly recalled that Emma had told her many times that this was her favorite name. But gradually, Olivia became less and less interested in what was happening in their marriage. First, she simply didn't have time for it, and second, the resentment toward her ex-husband and former best friend began to fade. Seeing their happiness in photos, Olivia found the strength to forgive the betrayal. Time passed. 5 years had flown by since Olivia's divorce from her husband. Since the woman stopped visiting James and Emma's social media pages and didn't maintain any contact with mutual acquaintances, she had no idea what was happening in the life of the man she once loved. The main thing was that her own life was gradually getting back on track. Olivia got a promotion at work and now earned almost twice as much. Finally, she, the children, and Aunt Evelyn could afford things they hadn't even dreamed of recently.
Noah and Sophia never stopped pleasing Olivia. Both son and daughter excelled in school and always helped her with household chores. They had long stopped asking about their dad. If he wasn't interested in how they were doing, why should they care about how he was living? The topic of James and his new family was never raised in their home. Changes also occurred in Olivia's personal life. At some point, she realized she didn't have to remain faithful to her ex-husband, so she registered on a dating site. There, she met a man named Henry, who worked as a lawyer and was 10 years older than her. After their first meeting, Olivia realized she had fallen in love. Henry treated her with great tenderness and respect. With him, the woman began to feel protected and, most importantly, incredibly happy. Soon, they got married. Now, Olivia, the children, and her new husband lived in a large country house that Henry had bought for them right after the wedding. They invited Evelyn too, but she refused to change her familiar lifestyle. Henry treated Noah and Sophia like his own, and they simply adored him, even calling him Dad among themselves. Olivia probably wouldn't have even remembered James if not for one event. It happened like this. One day, on the eve of New Year's, Olivia was wandering through stores in search of gifts for her loved ones. She had already bought a beautiful and incredibly warm burgundy shawl for Evelyn, famous brand sneakers for Noah, and a silver bracelet for Sophia. All that was left was to pick something for Henry. But Olivia couldn't decide. She wanted to buy something special for her husband, so she had been going from store to store for over an hour, but always left empty-handed. Suddenly, near the entrance of yet another boutique, she heard someone call her by name. Surprised, she stopped and turned her head. Before her stood a man with a long, tangled beard and unwashed hair down to his shoulders. He was dressed in a dirty transitional jacket that offered no protection from the December frost, and patched pants of some indeterminate color. On his feet were worn-out light brown shoes that once clearly looked refined, but were now completely unusable. It was thanks to these shoes that Olivia realized who was in front of her. James, she could only exhale. It really was her ex-husband. 15 minutes later, they were sitting in a fast food joint. Other patrons glanced disapprovingly at James, but he didn't care. He was devouring a cheeseburger and large fries that Olivia had bought for him. The woman herself didn't touch the food. She just sadly examined her ex-husband. When everything was eaten, James raised his eyes to Olivia. "Thank you," he muttered. "For nothing," the woman said quietly. "Now, tell me what happened to you." Sighing, James told Olivia his bitter story. It turned out that the idyll in his marriage to Emma lasted exactly a year. Then everything started to crumble. James had serious problems with his business, so he brought less and less money into the family. Emma didn't like this turn of events. She had planned to buy expensive outfits, go on vacations, and so on. Because of this, conflicts arose in the family, growing more and more each day. James started drinking alcohol, often not coming home at night. Then, he lost the business. Emma was furious. She reproached him every day for his idleness and for ruining her life. After one such quarrel, he left home for several days. He spent that time drinking with friends, and when he returned, he saw that the locks on the front door had been changed. His own wife wouldn't let him into the house. The man simply had nowhere to go, and that night he slept under a bridge on the street for the first time. There were many such nights after that. Emma soon filed for divorce. The man didn't know what had happened to her since. She also forbade him from visiting their daughter, Isabella. "Wait, James," Olivia suddenly interrupted him. "But how did you end up on the street? What do you mean she changed the lock? It's your apartment. You inherited it from your grandmother." The man smiled bitterly. "It's no longer my apartment. Emma tricked me into giving up the property in her favor. She slipped me some papers when I was drunk and I signed everything. Now I'm begging on the street like some leper." After hearing her ex-husband's sad story, Olivia thought deeply. She really wanted to help him, but she didn't yet understand how. So, for starters, the woman bought James some groceries, a simple mobile phone, a SIM card, and paid for a week in advance at a hostel. When they said goodbye, James asked her, "Olivia, why are you doing this for me? I caused you so much pain." "Believe me, I stopped thinking about what happened in my life almost 6 years ago," the woman replied calmly. "Moreover, I'm even grateful to you. If we hadn't split up back then, I would never have gotten what I have now." "Forgive me," James said sincerely. "I behaved terribly toward you. Now I'm incredibly sorry." "Please don't worry," she replied with a gentle smile. "I've forgiven you long ago and hold no grudge." That same evening, Olivia told everything to Henry. He had never known the details of his wife's divorce from her first husband. She always said the standard, "we didn't match in character." So now he was very surprised to hear the full story with all the details. "You see, dear, there is justice in the world. He once hurt you, Noah, and Sophia badly. Now he's paying for it." "Henry, please don't say that," Olivia pleaded. "I've forgiven him long ago, and he's suffered more than enough. And believe me, what I went through doesn't compare to how he's suffering now. I feel terribly sorry for him. We need to help James somehow." The man thought for a few minutes, then said, "Well, we can try to help him. I'd really like to meet him." "Oh, of course," Olivia exclaimed joyfully. "He's staying at the Old Town Hostel, which is not far from the center. We could go there tomorrow." "Why the hostel?" Henry was surprised. "Let him come to us for dinner tomorrow." Hearing this, Olivia just silently approached her husband and hugged him tightly. Tears glistened in her eyes. The next evening, James sat at the dinner table, surrounded by Olivia, Noah, Sophia, and Henry. Contrary to all expectations, the children met their biological father warmly. It was sad for them to see him in such a state, so they tried their best to show that they were glad to see him, which was the pure truth. Olivia had specially baked a stuffed pike in the oven and made a plum charlotte for tonight's dinner, the dishes that James always asked her to cook when they were married. All this touched the man deeply, and throughout the dinner, he tried his best to hold back the tears welling up in his eyes. The conversation at the table was relaxed. They talked about the weather, discussed the latest news in politics and sports, and told funny jokes. When Olivia started clearing the table, Henry invited James to talk about something in another room. What exactly the men discussed remained a mystery. But when James said goodbye an hour and a half later, a sincere smile played on his lips. He warmly thanked Henry and Olivia for the hospitable reception, hugged the children, and left to spend the night at the hostel, despite being urged to stay at the house. 2 more years passed. Amazingly, James managed to get back the 3-bedroom apartment he had inherited from his late grandmother. Henry helped him with this. As a lawyer, he immediately understood that James had been deceived outright from the beginning, so proving it in court was no trouble. In fairness,
As soon as the housing officially returned to James, he immediately drew up a will stating that in case of anything, the apartment should be divided among his children, Noah, Sophia, and Isabella. James told only one person about this decision, his ex-wife, Olivia. When Emma learned that the huge apartment where she had been living alone, she had sent her daughter to be raised by her mother in the village, was no longer hers, the woman was beside herself with rage. It got to the point where she started calling first James, then Olivia and Henry, and even Evelyn with curses and threats. But none of them paid any attention to these calls. In the end, Emma had to accept the situation and move to a rented one-bedroom apartment of very modest size. She returned where she started.
James got a job, again with help from Olivia and Henry. He gave up alcohol and started spending a lot of time with the children. He also began attending church, something he had never done before. Olivia was very pleased with the changes that had happened to James. Once, she had lost a husband with him. Now she had found a good friend. With Henry, everything was still more than good. Love, respect, and fidelity always reigned in their family. By the way, not long ago, they had their long-awaited child together, a son named Liam. For this occasion, they received many congratulations from relatives and close ones, including, naturally, James. Evelyn, Olivia's aunt, who had finally given in to persuasion and moved to live with her niece's family in the country, helps care for the child. No one knows for sure what happened to Emma. It's only known that she was laid off at work. After that incident, the woman cut off any contact with all her friends and acquaintances. They say that a woman resembling Emma was seen a couple of times on the outskirts of the city. She was allegedly dressed in some old dress and worn-out shoes, and overall looked bad, much older than her years. Whether this is true is unknown. It's hard to believe that a woman like Emma could look unkempt. On the other hand, people change. At the same time, one shouldn't forget that, sooner or later, one still has to answer for one's actions.